become the impactful leader you know you can be. Without further ado, let's dive into our opening topic: Skyrocket Your Online Sales, a guide for women in business. We're privileged to have Catherine Casey, marketing expert and founder of Small Business Academy. She would inspire us by providing her with her first-hand experience on how to skyrocket your online sales. Catherine has more than 7 years of marketing experience, and she is the CEO of Small Business Academy. Catherine has worked with hundreds of small businesses and created the perfect recipe to help them nail their marketing and sales. Catherine, if you're with us, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. Hello everyone, my name is Catherine and welcome to my masterclass, Skyrocket Your Online Sales, a guide for women in business. It is an honor to be here and to be surrounded virtually by so many incredible business women. I'm just going to very quickly introduce myself and then we're going to get straight into it. So hi everyone, my name is Catherine and I am the owner of my baby, my beloved, the Marketing Club, where I teach small business owners how to skyrocket their marketing and their sales using the power of Instagram. So I have 7 years of marketing experience working for state bodies such as Cork City Council and the Gleneagle Group here in Ireland. I also have 2 online courses. So my first course was a mini Instagram course and my latest course is a full A to Z marketing program. So this is my story so far. So during the pandemic, I was actually furloughed from my job. So our whole marketing department were let go for a number of months. And at that time, like everybody around the world, we were all glued to the news. And I could see small business owners all over the country doing interviews and they were shutting their shop for the last time. And it honestly broke my heart. And I thought to myself, what little tiny impact can I make? And what I did was I created an Instagram page, just providing free marketing tips and tricks. And I was just thinking it might help people in my local area. So in March 2021, I started with 0 followers and absolutely 0 intentions. I had no link, I had no offer, no website, nothing. And now in June 2023, I have over 679,000 people following me across Instagram and TikTok, which can be quite overwhelming at times, but I'm very grateful for everybody who's followed me along on my journey. So today we're going to go through the MBCC method. So that is market research, bio, content, and convert. So this is your 360 method to nail your Instagram strategy and to drive traffic to your website. So first of all, we need to talk about how the Instagram algorithm works. So you share a piece of content. That could be a reel, it could be a carousel post, it could be a photo, a graphic. And what happens is the algorithm sends that piece of content to a small portion of your followers. And then the question is, do they interact? So do they like, do they comment, do they share, do they save? If they do, that is amazing. Then the Instagram algorithm says, this is brilliant, I'm going to show this to more people. But if they don't engage with you, then the Instagram algorithm is thinking, this isn't a great piece of content, we're going to show this to less people. So the Instagram algorithm, the job is to keep people on the app. And when we create amazing content that keeps people on the app, Instagram will reward us by showing our content to more people. So that just goes to show how important our Instagram followers are and why we need to conduct market research. So where I would start is I would ask your audience questions via story polls. So ask them, for example, where are they from? Ask them, what do they love about your industry? Really simple polls that will get them engaging and you'll see a little bit about them. But then if you really want to get in depth and do a lot of market research, I would recommend using something like Google Forms. So here you can do in-depth surveys and you can ask them which of your product or services that they love, what do they think you should release next? Ask them those meaty questions where you want the answers, but in-depth answers. And finally, your competitor analysis. So I would recommend going onto your competitor's Instagram, looking at their reels, looking at what type of content they push, but checking how high their engagement level is and which content performs best for them, okay? This is really important. You never want to copy your competitors, but you always want to be inspired. And remember, you have similar audiences. So these are some websites to conduct market research and a competitor analysis. So number 1 is answerthepublic.com. Here you can see what people are searching for on Google. So let's just pretend for a second that I own a personalized frames business. So when I go on to Answer the Public and I put in my keywords related to my industry, which are personalized frames, I can see what people are searching for. So I actually just did this a couple of days ago, and people are searching for new home personalized frames. So they're obviously looking to gift a friend who's just purchased a new home a personalized frame. So if I'm a business owner, that's telling me do a lot of reels about new home personalized frames. Or if it's something I don't offer, add it to my product suite because it's in demand. Number 2 is mill.com. Here you can pop in your industry keywords and get the best email inspiration from the top leaders in your industry. Meta Ad Library will show you what ads your competitors are running. And like I said, it's always good to be inspired, but never copy, okay? And it's so important to be informed when it comes to your competitors. Next up is YouTube. When you go to the search bar on YouTube, I would highly recommend popping in your industry keywords. And the videos that pop up at the very top of your YouTube search, these are the posts that have performed well in the past for your competitors. They might be massive competitors, but they're competitors all the same. So I would recommend creating short reels similar to that video, but putting your own spin on it because you know those videos have worked well in the past. And finally, similarweb.com. Check out your competitor's website analytics. So here what you can see is how much traffic is going to your competitor's website every month. See what pages are driving the most traffic. Again, this is really important to be always inspired and know exactly what your competitors are doing at all times. So next up is your Instagram bio. I always describe this, it's like an invitation to a party. You only want people that love you to be at your party. And it's the very same when it comes to your Instagram bio. So here I would recommend for the bold part here is putting in your industry keyword. So for me, mine is marketing coach. So I put in my first name and then marketing coach. And what this means, if somebody searches for marketing coach on Instagram, my page is more likely to show up. But where the invitation part really kicks in is the rest of your bio there. So what you do and who you serve. So I say I help business owners convert their followers to sales with organic marketing and sales strategies. So I'm telling you what I do and who I offer my content to. So I'm trying to drive the right people. Because if the wrong people follow you, it's like we go back to the Instagram algorithm, they don't engage with you. And the next part of your bio should be your expert statement. So I have here 1,000 plus students. You might have something similar, or you might be in business a number of years. You might have a particular skill. You might have won some type of an award. Wherever you can stand out as an expert, put that in your bio. And finally, your call to action. So I have start here with a little arrow, or you could say my website, you could say book here for a discovery call, but I always would recommend putting in the little pointy down or the little arrow, whatever type you want, to tell people to click the link in your bio. And speaking about the link in your bio, so I actually use Stanstore, but you might use Linktree or other platforms like that. But Instagram recently introduced multiple links. So now instead of having the one link, we can pop in more links. So instead of doing too many links and overwhelming your audience, I would recommend anywhere from 2 to 5 links. But I would definitely recommend these 3 if you're going for the magic number 3. So number 1 is your website. So people have easy access to your website. Number 2 is your best-selling product or service. So if we have a best-selling product or service, people want to access that quickly and easily rather than going through your website. So have it there easily accessible. And finally, your freebie. So when it comes to your freebie, that could be a free masterclass, a free PDF guide, something that you are offering for free that your audience can pop in their email address in order to gain something for free, but also get onto your email database. So they would be 3 things I would definitely put in your link. And another part that I would say is very similar to your bio would be your pinned content on Instagram. So this pinned content, it could be from 2 years ago, 3 years ago, or it could be last week's content. Whichever your favorite pieces of content are, pin them to the top of your profile. So they're the first 3 posts that people are going to see. But I would recommend these 3 structures. So number 1 is your expert piece of content. So something that positions you as an expert or an authority in your field. So for me, that would be small business tools, and I have a cheat sheet here. So if somebody lands on my page for the first time, they'll say, well, I think she knows what she's talking about. This is a really in-depth expert piece of content. Number 2 is your personal post. So for me, I won an award a number of months ago, and in the caption, I kind of tell about my story and how I've got to where I am now. And I suppose what that does is that helps people resonate with you and get to know you, and it builds trust. And finally, your offer. So your best-selling product or service, I would also pin that to the top. So for me, it's my Small Business Academy, my online program. And when you swipe on this, you can read each module by module. So it's easily accessible rather than somebody swiping down trying to find that information. Next up is our content marketing. So this is the content that you put out there that you're trying to attract people to your page and to your website. So first of all, I would recommend picking a posting schedule. That is where you need to start when you're thinking about your Instagram strategy. So I have a number of schedules here. So number 1, you might be a side hustler. So you might be working your 9-to-5 job plus your small business. So I would recommend in that case to maybe take 4 breaks per week. If you don't have too much time, but you want to stay consistent and reliable, I would recommend something like this and perhaps taking 3 breaks per week. But if you're looking for that intense growth and you're looking to increase footfall to your page and increase traffic to your website, I would recommend a good mix between carousels and reels because they drive the most followers, and taking 1 break per week. So these are reels that sell. So when it comes to selling reels, I would always recommend showing your face where you can. Because when you show your face, that is when you generate trust. And when you generate trust, that is when you build sales. Number 2 is the lighting. So I would always recommend shooting your reels in front of natural light or using a really good ring light. Because unfortunately for us, our competitors, they're getting slicker and slicker. So we need to make sure that we've no shadows in the background, nothing distracting, so people can focus on the content in hand. We also want to have a strong hook. So a hook is a short sentence at the beginning of your reel that's going to hook people in. I always say this is kind of similar when you're in a shop and you see all the magazines and the newspapers. At the front, you see headlines. And the idea of those headlines is that they're supposed to encourage us to actually purchase the magazine. Similar to headlines, we have hooks, and they're to encourage our audience to watch until the end. So for example, I might say something like, stop making these 3 mistakes on Instagram. Then next up, we have our information. So we need to give the right information and keep it clear and concise. So what I would do here is I would say, stop making these 3 mistakes on Instagram. And I would explain mistake number 1, mistake number 2. But then I need to worry about watch time. And watch time is how long somebody watches your reel. So if somebody watches your reel until the end, it's like a big green tick to the Instagram algorithm saying this is an amazing piece of content. Because oftentimes people drop out maybe 3-5 seconds in. So instead of finishing my 3rd tip, I will say, check out tip number 3 or mistake number 3 in the caption below. So that way I'm keeping my reel shorter so people have less time to complete it, which means that they'll get there till the end, and I'm leading people into my caption. And there I can just write out my mistake number 3, but I can also link my offer. So I can talk about my online program so people can read about it there. Or I can say, drop the words, SBA for Small Business Academy in the comment section, and I will send you a link to my online program. So tailor this to your own industry, and that is how you do a 360 when it comes to reels and sell effortlessly. Now, these are our reels that convert. So number 1 are our problem awareness reels. So we need to think about their problem, your content, and your solution. So let's just take the example of a personal trainer for a second. So their problem, so somebody following a personal trainer, their problem might be that they're trying to lose weight or they're trying to tone up. So my content, if I'm a personal trainer, I'm going to create reels like, are you trying to tone up this summer? So automatically, that's my hook. I'm hooking people in. Okay, and then I will give them some easy tips and tricks. And then I will say, if you want to work with me one-to-one, check out my one-to-one program. The link is in my bio. Okay, so you've acknowledged their problem, you've given them easy, actionable tips in your content, and then you've sent them to your solution, which is your paid offer. Number 2 are your consideration reels. So why should somebody choose you over your competitors, even if you offer the exact same product or service for a very similar price? Here I would recommend standing out as an expert. So if there's any industry trends, if there's any breaking news in your industry, be the first to create a reel on that. Because remember, people that follow you, I can guarantee you they're following 10 other pages at least very similar to yours. And the reason being is because they love your industry. So if you let them know about the breaking news in that industry and you position yourself as an expert, they're more likely to choose you. And finally, your conversion reels. So you have your persuasive language, urgency, and a call to action. Okay, so when you have limited time offers, I would recommend saying things like, buy now before it's too late. Time is ticking, link in bio. Language can be so important at this stage, and always use urgency where you can and a clear call to action to tell people what to do next. Now we have our carousel posts that sell, okay? So for example, I'm going to use maybe the example of a nutritionist here. So these are carousel posts, so the posts that we swipe on, and these are all the individual slides. So for my hook, I might say something like 3 foods to boost your energy. That might be one example. Another example, stop eating these overly processed foods. Then I might say 3 overly processed foods you didn't know. Or tools to track your calorie intake. So use one strong hook, but just related to your own industry. Then on the next slide, we want to open up the problem and pose a question. So I might say something like, are you suffering with fatigue? Try out these energy boosting foods, okay? And then for my value 1, is it my first energy boosting food and why it boosts energy? Then number 2, the second food, number 3, and number 4. So you've given them actionable tips, and then for your call to action, you want to tell people to click your link in bio if they want access to your nutrition program, show all little testimonials and reviews, or tell them drop the word nutrition in the comments below and you will send them your program via DM. Okay, so that is how you start from your hook. You open the problem, you give them value, and then you have your call to action at the end. So as we all know, Instagram can feel like a long slog unless we're actually converting viewers into sales. So how do we actually do that? So number 1 is to create irresistible offers. So this is crafting compelling discounts, exclusive bundles, limited time promotions. So for example, if I own a jewelry business, so different times of the year, I might have a sale. So I might have my January sale, Black Friday, spring sale, summer sale. I have a list of them there. So I would recommend 2 to 4, I suppose, sales per year. And for those sales, I would do exclusive bundles and limited time promotions. So for example, for 72 hours only, if you purchase a bracelet, you will get 50% off a ring. Or if you purchase a bracelet, you might get a free headband completely for free for 72 hours only. This gets people off the fence and it encourages them to buy from you now. But another thing I would do when it comes to your irresistible offers is I would show up in stories and talk about the benefits of what you sell. Oftentimes, I see small business owners and they focus too much on the features. So for example, if you were selling, let's just say a nutrition plan like we just mentioned a minute ago, instead of saying that your course or your nutrition plan course has 4.5 hours of video content, instead say how people are going to feel at the end. So you can say, once you're finished this course, you're going to have less bloat, you're going to have clearer skin. Tell them the benefits, not just the features, because 4.5 hours of video content isn't too appealing unless you're going to get that benefit at the end. So think about your industry, think about the benefits, think about the features, but focus on the benefits. The next one is our social proof. So this is showcasing our glowing reviews and our testimonials, and these establish credibility. So what I would say here is contact 2 or 3 of your best customers or clients and ask them would they mind sending you a 20-second video testimonial. Okay, that is the most concrete social proof you could ever have. But if people aren't comfortable with that, ask them to send you a written testimonial and ask them, would you mind if you tag them on Instagram? And the reason being that other potential customers, they might see that on your stories or in your highlights, and then they'll say, well, that's definitely a legitimate review because they've tagged the person. Because we know this day and age that a lot of business owners, they might write their own reviews and kind of pull the wool over our eyes. So it's always important to make that concrete. The next one would be influencers, using micro influencers in your area. But these only work if they align well with your brand. So you could offer them some type of a service or send them a product in return for them speaking about your product or your service on their stories. That way you can save all of those onto your highlights, but also their followers will come over to your page and they'll instantly trust you because they trust the influencer that you worked with. And finally, upselling. This is adding complementary products or services to an existing product or service. Okay, so what this does is this increases your bottom line and your average order value. So what I would say here is, let's just pretend that I own a business and it has like bubble bath and bath bombs and that kind of thing. And someone is buying bubble bath, but that's all they're buying. So as they go to checkout, if I was a smart business owner, what I would have then is get 50% off a bath bomb while you're buying your bubble bath. Otherwise, it's 100%, there's no discount. So because you're thinking you're getting that little bit of added value, it's a complementary product. So somebody is more likely to purchase it because it kind of, complements what they're already buying. Then you're going to sell more like that. It doesn't even need to be 50%, even just 20%. But when people are there and they're ready to buy, oftentimes they'll add something on just because of that little discount. And my last slide here are my favorite tools. So for graphics, I use canva.com, I think like a lot of us. For my link in bio, I use Standstore. For my content planning, I use Trello.com to plan all my content ahead of time. For my organization, I use Todoist, so I tap on all my to-dos and tick them off one by one. For my course platform, I use Character.com. For email marketing, MailerLite.com and Flowdesk are amazing for small business owners. And finally, I take all my payments through Stripe. I want to thank you so much for listening. Please follow me at _ the marketing club for all marketing tips and tricks. I really appreciate your time. And if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Your insights have set a great atmosphere for the Women in MBA event. If you don't mind, I do have a question. If you, of course, have the time.
Of course.
Perfect. Okay. I know that many of our women today are wondering, is entrepreneurship a shortcut to a leadership role? What do you think?
Sorry, excuse me. Can you repeat that question, please?
Do you think entrepreneurship could be a shortcut to a leadership role?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. I think, when you work for yourself, I mean, it's just the most incredible feeling. You're your own boss. You're not answering to anybody else. So you're positioning yourself as a leader in your industry. And I just think, if you can just peek your head up above everybody else in your industry, then you stand out as a leader. And everybody trusts a leader. Everybody trusts an expert. So I think I don't know, is it necessarily a shortcut, but you're going on the right route if you're becoming your own boss, because you're just putting that confidence in yourself, trusting yourself. And that is for me, that is step one of leadership.
I completely agree with you. And to build a bridge on what we're going to be discussing basically throughout the whole day today, what do you think are some of the unique challenges that women face in pursuing an MBA?
So there's lots of different challenges, I suppose. Like here in Ireland, I suppose there's a lot of different challenges. Like access to online materials, having the access and having that education, and having, I suppose, the support from businesses in general. It's all very important. When I was doing my MBA, for me, it was just having access to online materials were inevitable. It was just so important for me, and I was just so grateful to be in that position information that I had access to these materials.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, I do have one last question for you, Catherine. How was the representation of women in MBA programs changed over the years? Have you noticed any trends, anything different really throughout the past years?
Yes, I mean, just for women, like women doing MBAs, I mean, it's just there's been such a massive shift over the past few years. Just I mean, over I would say the last even 10 years or so, there has been a huge shift. And I mean, women are just becoming just incredible and fearless. And the way that they go for their goals these days, it inspires me so much. And every woman doing an MBA, they inspire me, they empower me, and anything to do with women and MBAs and women in business is just incredible, and it just makes me so proud.
I can absolutely join in that statement. I think you're absolutely right. Thank you once again very much for joining us. It has been an enormous pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much.
So, for everyone else that is just joining or somebody that wasn't with us in the beginning, I want to say welcome to the 2023 Women and MBA Global Online Event with top business schools in Europe and North America and keynotes by female leadership experts. Now, I am sure you can't wait to hear a panel discussion we have. It's called Global Careers Through an MBA. I'm pleased to present Deborah McCandless. She's Deputy Director of Admissions at IESE Business School, who would be joined by three inspiring ladies, MBA graduate from IESE as well. That's Sarah Zoe, Cecilia Nikolic, and Kartika Varma. Are you with us, ladies? Hello?
Yes, we're here. Just to get us started, yeah, I'll start with a quick presentation and then we'll swing on over to the panel discussion.
Lovely. Go ahead, ladies. The floor is yours.
Excellent. Yes. So just sharing my screen. So just to do super quick overview, for some background, as mentioned, my name's Deborah McCandless. I'm responsible for admissions for YesA's full-time MBA for all of our applicants based in North America, Central America, and the Caribbean. I am also an alumna from the program itself, and I do always like to mention IESE or YesA. They're used interchangeably for a lot of people that aren't Spanish speakers. We tend to say IESE when you apply and YesA when you graduate. But I do always like to mention, like, as a kind of general background on the school, kind of everything at the institution starts with the mission of the school, which is to support leaders who aspire to have a positive, deep, and lasting impact on people, firms, and society. And this is kind of a core ethic to the institution, and it's something that's a through line through all of our classes and the community as a whole, whether it's in the MBA program or any of our other programs as well. And just kind of in terms of how we prepare our leaders to go out into the world, there's kind of 5 pillars that we lean on. So entrepreneurial spirit, positive impact, as I mentioned, with the mission, the general management perspective. YesA's really has a goal of giving you an understanding of how kind of your position fits within the larger scope of business as a whole, and a global mindset. YesA is a very international community. We're based in Barcelona, Spain, but we have students from all over the world. And it makes for a very dynamic international environment. And then at the center of everything, we believe, is people. And I think this is one of the things that helps to create strong leaders out of YesA. This is just a little bit on our class profile. Just, every averages I think aren't that useful, but at least to give you a little bit of an idea of what our program looks like, as well as kind of the global distribution of our students, which I think is one of the really relevant things to the institution and how we work. We pull people from a very wide variety of different backgrounds, and you'll see that amongst our alumni that are joining us today. And this is a bit of what our program looks like. So first year core curriculum is really about that foundational knowledge that helps you to understand how all the business works. and then you continue to develop through the second year with the electives as you choose the things that you're going to find most valuable for you as an individual in terms of how you want to grow yourself as a leader, as a business person. And in the summer between, typically people will do an internship. We do have a condensed version of the program, which allows you to finish in 15 months, but you skip the internship over the summer in that case. And then kind of one of the core things that I think is really helpful in terms of how YesA prepares people for their careers beyond is case study method. I know a lot of business schools use it. We're very heavy on it. And if you've never been in a case study class before, it's about learning through real business situations. So it's really intense leadership training because you're putting yourselves in the shoes of a different manager at a different company, likely 3 times a day, 5 days a week for a big chunk of, especially that first year. And you do individual preparation to kind of review the situation and see how you would approach it. You go within a team and discuss and prepare and get feedback and fine tune there. And then the classroom itself is meant to be very, very interactive. So everyone gets pulled in and shares their different perspectives, which allows you to really pull from a very global, very diverse mindset coming in. So, you're not going to know everything about everything going out, but it definitely opens your eyes to some blind spots that you may have in terms of understanding the world around you and different situations and different cultures. And in terms of where people land post MBA, it is very global as well. We have people all over the world. Our alumni today are all European based, but they've all experienced moving that geographic change, which is mentioned at the bottom of this slide. But moving on, just wanted to introduce our speakers. So I'm going to ask each of our alumni to introduce themselves, and I'll take down this slide. But if you wouldn't mind, Karthika, if you could get us started, if you can talk a little bit about your background and kind of what you've done post MBA.
Thanks, Deborah. And first off, good afternoon, everyone. Really excited to be here today and hopefully share all the insights that I have. A little bit about myself. I'm Karthika Varma. I graduated from ESA Business School in Barcelona in 2021. I will say 2 of the best years of my life. Right now, I'm based in Berlin. I am working with Zalando SE, which is an e-commerce retailer headquartered here in Berlin and one of the largest e-commerce retailers in fashion here in Europe. And I'm working as a finance business partner for Southern Europe. So I manage Italy and Spain. But this was my journey now. Go back 10 years ago. I'm originally from India and I started my career in India as well. I started with Deloitte and Touche in their advisory practice for manufacturing companies. And after 2 years in India, I jumped ship to Minneapolis in the US. I went from 30 degrees every day in India to minus 30 degrees Celsius in Minneapolis all in one go. I spent 2 years in Minneapolis and then I moved to New York, where I was for 6 years and I worked in the financial and advisory practice in Deloitte and Touche as well, mostly for hedge funds and private equity funds. I was always interested in retail. I can say that is where my curiosity lies and my passion lies. And I knew I wanted to jump ship. And I also knew I always wanted to get an MBA and study a bit more, which ESA helped me with. And all of those factors combined, I decided to jump ship again and moved to Barcelona to study at ESA. And now it's 2023 and I'm in Berlin with where I wanted to land up. Excited to give all of you more insights during the panel. And with that, I can pass it on to Cecilia.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Very happy to be here today and be on this panel of lovely ladies speaking about their experiences. I'm Cecilia Nikolic. I am half American, half Bolivian. I started off my career in the US in Washington, D.C., where I graduated with my bachelor's. I went straight into international development, worked there in this space for 6 years. Moving around a bit, I started in the headquarters of an NGO in Washington, D.C., and moving between projects, I got the opportunity to work in Bangladesh, in Mali, West Africa, and then in Honduras. All the projects were specifically in agricultural market systems, and definitely grew that passion of staying in that space, food systems. And I said, okay, I definitely want to stay in that, but I noticed a change where I wanted to understand a bit more from the corporate side, the value chains that I was supporting. So that's what triggered me doing an MBA. But because of the international context I was working in, I knew it had to be in an international school. That led me to apply to IESE and then continue that journey there. I graduated last summer in 2022, and then I joined OFI, Olam Food Ingredients, based out of Amsterdam, where I am now. And I actually joined through the Future Leaders program that the company has. It was a perfect venue to join the company because it's a rotation program, which I can speak later a bit more about. But it kind of allowed me to move from the NGO space to the more corporate side of things. And happy to be here. And now with that, I'll pass it on to my colleague, Sarah.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to meet you. My name is Sarah. I am originally from Canada. So I studied biology in my undergrad because it's what I most enjoyed at the time. But sort of quickly near the end of graduation, I realized I didn't want a career in that. And so I actually landed in a fintech company, somewhat by fluke. But while there, working in account management and sales, I realized that I really love the tech industry, and that's where I wanted to grow my career. So after a few years in account management, I became an agile coach where I worked with product and tech leaders, coaching them on team processes, on how to improve, team cohesion, things like that. And then after a few years working with medium-sized companies, I decided to move to a startup. And I think that's what really kick-started my passion for entrepreneurship and startups. And I started thinking about, one day starting my own company. And that's kind of when I realized that I wanted more business foundations in my toolkit. And so I started toying around with the idea of an MBA. I had always wanted to move abroad to Europe and get experience internationally. And so I had started looking into the essay process back in 2018, 19, and that's when Deborah and I first met. But around the same time, I was just applying for jobs abroad and found a pretty great one in Germany, still working as an agile coach, but decided to take that opportunity instead. And then after a few years there, I kind of realized, it's time to pull the trigger and actually do the MBA. And so in 2020, of the fall of 2020, I started at IESE, and I made it my goal during my time at IESE to just fully throw myself into learning about startups, entrepreneurship, and that field. And so those were the courses I most took. I was really involved in the Startup and Entrepreneurship Club in both years, first year as a director and then second year as president of the club. And that kind of led me to where I am today. So now I am the founding ops member of a pre-seed venture-backed startup here in Barcelona, where I currently am. And I'm super happy. I'm getting to apply a lot of the things that I learned during the MBA directly into my day-to-day work, as well as, my past experiences working as an agile coach. So I'm really excited to talk about my experience at IESE today with you all.
Excellent. And if there are questions, feel free to put it in the chat, but I'll just move forward. So I know, Kartika, Sarah, you kind of had a vision of what you wanted. I'm curious, Cecilia, coming in with a non-traditional background, I'm curious kind of what were the challenges heading into the MBA process, and kind of how did you take advantage of your time there to kind of find the journey that was right for you in terms of your professional life?
Yes, great question. When I applied to the MBA and joining, I was a little worried that I was gonna be the odd one out, not coming from a consulting investment banking background. But actually, just from the first day joining that international diverse group, I realized how diverse the backgrounds were, and I wasn't the only one on that boat. So that was definitely a relief. But even though it was let's say, a non-traditional background, I still had it pretty clear where I wanted to end up after the MBA, which was very helpful. I knew I had that passion for food systems and ag, and I wanted to stay in that space. So throughout the 2 years, I kind of stayed focused in the different activities that I joined, and the different clubs and the people I networked were all around that. So I focused my internship for the summer at Nestle, where I was working on a cocoa project. So leveraging the experience that I had before and positioning me to where I wanted to end up after. And I think that definitely helped. So the activities and networking and the internship definitely helped me position myself for the position I have now.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And Sarah, I know you mentioned that you're president of the Entrepreneurship Club. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about some of the activities that you took part in and sort of how it helped to get you where you are today.
Yeah, for sure. Always happy to talk about that. Well, I would say that the Startup and Entrepreneurship Club is, similar to all the business clubs at ESA, which is that they're mostly student run. But I would say that the benefit of the SNE Club is that it really helps guide you through this very unstructured process, which is, the world of startups and entrepreneurship. I'm so sorry. There's construction that just started happening at my neighbor's place, but I would say clubs like finance and consulting, those industries have a very structured recruitment process. And I would say in startups, it's very loose. And so our programs are very focused around introducing you to the startup ecosystem within Europe. So that includes, doing a Berlin trek, a Barcelona trek, which means we take a group of students from the club and we go and actually visit various startups in those two cities to get to know the people so that you can kind of network and form relationships with startups. We also bring in lots of entrepreneurs to run workshops for those interested in starting their own businesses. And we just try to do a lot of social events to help you meet your classmates and talk about entrepreneurship things. Because I would say the SNE Club is one of the largest at ESA, and that's because even people who maybe directly go into consulting or finance or other industries after the MBA ultimately have a dream and a goal of starting their own business. I think, during your initial conversations with people, when you're talking about what everyone's interested in, everyone says, well, I'm consulting, but, one day I want to start my own company. And so you have people from all these different industries joining the SNE Club, and it's a great space for everyone to talk about what their true passions are, what they want to do one day, and it's a great place to maybe meet your potential co-founder one day. And so I would say those are the key areas that the club is focused on. So introducing you to other startups and people who work in startups, running workshops to give you the tools to start your own, and then as much as possible introducing you to others who are interested in similar things.
Yeah, and Karthika, as the person that's been out of the MBA the longest amongst the panel, I was wondering if you can talk a little bit about kind of how the MBA experience has influenced your post MBA career, and kind of what are the learnings that you tend to take with you on a regular basis?
For those of you who are listening, obviously you're going to just start your MBA, and maybe Sarah and Cecilia and maybe even Deborah, you'll agree with me. The MBA is a very introspective experience. It really makes you look inside and really understand yourself way more than I really expected coming into the MBA. For me, there were certain facets of my personality which I think really came to light during the MBA, and it was essentially in the first year, which during an MBA, it's very different to any other regular year that you've had, because you're suddenly thrown into this new environment with 7 people who become your teammates and your best friends pretty much for your first year of your MBA. And everyone has a very different personality. And I went from knowing exactly who I was, exactly what my strong suits were, exactly what my weaknesses were, to now being in a completely different environment with new people, and suddenly realizing that some of my weaknesses were my strengths, and some parts of my personality that I never really thought about were some things that I needed to focus on. So, for example, one of them, what I thought before the MBA going in, which I thought was my weakness, so as to say, was just listening. I thought I listened too much and I spoke too little. And I realized during my time with the MBA that what my teammates told me was sometimes they just needed someone to listen to them, and they always came back to me. Usually, you have a feedback round with your team after every 3 or 4 months, and this is when the truth, we call it the truth session, that this would come out. And that's one of the things that I learned, that my weaknesses was a strength. And one of the areas of my personality that I realized that I needed to focus more on was when I had an opinion, and a very strong one, I would always be the second person to say it and not the first. And it was one of my best friends now, who started off as my teammate, who told me that. They said, "Hey, Karthika, I could see it on your face, and all of us could see it, but why didn't you say something when you knew that you didn't agree with everyone, but you took 5 minutes?" And these were two things that I didn't really think about that much before the MBA, but parts of my personality that suddenly bubbled up and became very important during those 2 years. And that for me is probably my biggest learning from the MBA, is about myself. And that's what I would say I took out to my career where I am today. So right now I'm the finance business partner for Italy and Spain with Zalando SE. It's almost a very similar environment to ESA. It's super fast paced. I have a team of 12. We're all from different nationalities except for 2 of us, which is very, very unusual. Everyone has a very strong opinion. But the two things that I remember to take away was what I learned during the MBA, which someone told me was, when I have an opinion, I need to speak up. And that's the first thing that I take now to meetings is, before every meeting, I take 2 minutes to just think about what I want to say, where my opinion is, and then I go in and make sure that I'm heard, because I knew I didn't do that before. But I still stick to what was initially my strength, which was, when someone needed to say something, I always make sure I listen. So for me, the biggest learning from the MBA was about me, and what my suits were, what my weaknesses were, and how I can elevate that in my career.
Excellent. Thank you. And Cecilia, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your experience with case study method as kind of a learning methodology, and kind of what it's like being in a classroom, especially the kind of classroom you see at a school like YesA.
Yes, absolutely. That's actually one of the reasons why I chose ESA. I didn't want the traditional lecture experience. I wanted more the case study. I think it brings in really good points on being able to be in a well, first of all, is that live business aspect. You're studying the a business that's failing or that's succeeding, and you're able to analyze a real case. But I think things that I really enjoyed with it is that it kind of fine tunes your critical thinking skills when cracking the case. So it allows you to think through different aspects when you're analyzing the case, and then bringing it into the classroom. I think the case method also allows you to structure your thought process more in the classroom. When you're thinking through an idea, you have to listen to what others are saying, and adapt your answers accordingly. So it's definitely fast paced, but also learning on on adding comments to the others. And then also, I think the third really interesting aspect of a case method is that you're learning to see different perspectives to one problem. You can come in thinking, okay, this is the way to solve it, or this is the issue. But then you're sitting in a classroom with, 50, 70 other people thinking, okay, there's actually 70 different ways to address this. And I think that's the richness in a case.
Okay. So I know we are about out of time, so I'm just going to ask Sarah this one last question. What is your piece of advice for someone that's joining Yesay's MBA to get the most out of the program in like 1 minute?
Whoa, good question. I would say be open. Be open to different ideas and opinions. Like Ceci said, be open to different solutions. Be open to changing your career goals that you came in with, right? Because you, like Karthika said as well, you do a lot of introspection throughout these 2 years, and you might change your mind just because you realize different things about yourself, your interests. New opportunities come up, and so don't stick to whatever it was that you initially came in with the goal of. I think it's great to come in with a goal, but just stay open and be a sponge and absorb everything, and don't be too hard on yourself if you go on a different track than you had originally thought.
Excellent. Thank you, ladies. I think you had some fantastic answers there. So I will wrap us up for now, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of today's event. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ladies, thank you all very much. It has been an absolute pleasure to hear you sharing your stories, your vulnerabilities, the little things that inspired you. Truly, thank you very much. It's been a privilege to have you with us. If you're joining now, ladies, welcome to the 2023 Women and MBA Global Online Event with top business schools from Europe and North America and keynotes by female leadership experts. I am glad to move on to and announce our third session for today. Please welcome Sandra Riches, MBA Program Director at EDEC Business School. She will be joined by Stephanie Wilhelmina Novak, Foresight Consultants at Rohrbeck Heger and MBA alumni of EDEC Business School. They will talk about women as powerful agents of change. Ladies, thank you for joining us today. Do we hear each other, see each other?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Sandra, hello. I can
Sandra?
hear you.
Hello.
And that sounded like you, Will. Is that you?
That is me. I am here now.
Good.
Perfect, ladies. So happy to have you today. The floor is yours.
Okay, thanks so much. So first, I'm just going to share again so that you've had a lot of presentations today. So I'm just going to share a quick slide with everybody to remind you of the topic of our part of this event. And I want to say thanks to Access for really organizing such a great lineup of speakers and some really interesting topics. So we were given the topic of women as powerful agents of change, and that's what you see up on the screen, I hope. I'm here with Stephanie Novak, who we call Will, and so I'll use Will during this presentation. And she's a graduate of EDEC Global MBA 2022, and then myself, the Global MBA Director. And we really wanted to go broader than just the EDEC MBA, but we'll be using examples, of course, from Will's experience in the MBA, and then examples from my role as the MBA Director. So I guess I wanted to start out with also reminding you that if you have questions, there'll be time at the end. So feel free to put those questions in the question box, and then hopefully our moderators will read them out to us, and we'll be happy to answer your specific questions as well. So I'm going to pull the slide down, and I guess, well, I don't actually know if you see us very well, but this will, you should see Will and myself online. So the topic was a challenging one. We were given this topic, and I wanted to start out, Will, by asking you why the topic of women as powerful agents of change was important to you and interested you, and allowed you to accept this invitation to speak on the panel.
Thank you. Well,
For me, it's an important topic because I think when we think of change, society really values a specific kind of change. And that's sort of the fireworks, the big stuff that we see splashed everywhere. But something that women are particularly good at is really these little changes, the incremental changes, changing people's mindsets and moving things forward in a, maybe it might seem slower, but it's actually in a lot of ways more impactful and longer lasting. And so I think that we need to have this conversation because the idea of a powerful agent of change has to also change. It doesn't have to be the big fireworks. We need to start valuing all the ways in which we're able to make changes in the world.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's really important. I think this idea of incremental change is super valuable, and I can speak to it also from the point of view of an MBA director. When I joined as an MBA director 5 years ago, we put in place a clear strategy to reach gender equality. So go from, we were traditionally, like many MBAs, at 30% female and the rest male in the MBA. And in the last 3 years, I'm really happy to report that we were at 46% women, then 40% women, and we are scheduled to be at 50% women in the next cohort. And that's really been a goal for me to reach that parity in the class. And why is it important to me? Because I think as business schools, we have a responsibility to prepare the leaders of tomorrow. And if we want workplaces to be more inclusive and to be more balanced, then we obviously need to train more women, and we need more women coming out of leadership education, which is MBA education. And so that's, for me, why the topic inspired me. And I think when you talk about incremental change, it's very much that. There's no quick win here. So you need to be you need to really keep your eye on the goal and, make small changes, incremental changes, constantly improve things. And that's what we've been doing in the Global MBA. And now that we've attained our diversity targets, we're really looking at inclusion and areas like that. But so getting back to the topic of change, many people come to an MBA for change in careers, change in life, change something about your story, really. And that's a good reason to do an MBA. MBAs typically are excellent agents of change for women and men. But what I'd like to do now is ask you a question, Will, about change. Like, how did your MBA at edX help you change? And then now that you're out and working in your professional life again, how has that MBA impacted your ability to be an agent for change for women in the workplace?
Yeah, I think, I come from a really interesting background for somebody to come into an MBA. So I come from the public sector. I worked in universities, in nonprofits, in legal. And so it was very different. And so to go and do an MBA was a very scary thing for me. That in itself was a huge change in my life. And I knew it was the right thing because I felt like it would take me to that next step. And that's exactly what happened. I feel that the MBA changed me in that it gave me the confidence to jump into conversations that I normally would have self-selected to be out of, saying, oh, I have no experience. I've never done finance. Oh, I've never done marketing. I'm not formally trained in this. I'm not formally trained in that. But what it did is it showed me that I actually do have all of those skills. I just didn't necessarily have the language, or it gave me the baseline understanding. And that gave me the confidence to go into the world and allow myself to be part of those conversations. And I think that's really kind of one of the biggest things that the MBA gives you, is that a level of confidence. And, it allowed me to move into a completely different career. So just way out there, to go from a small national legal nonprofit in criminal law, this tiny little world, to now I work as a consultant, a foresight consultant. I work with multinational global corporations across the world to help them implement changes that are going to be impactful for the future. So it really just it just gave me that confidence to say, I can actually do this. There's nothing stopping me other than myself.
Fantastic. Yeah. And being a strategic foresight consultant, I suppose you're really in the front line when it comes to change out there in business.
Yes, we're constantly looking at what could the world possibly be like 10 years from now? What would the impacts be on your company in 10 years? And how can you start making those incremental changes and preparing yourself so that when that happens, you're ready and you're at the top, right? So we really are constantly thinking about change and helping people to implement that at different levels within the organization. So it's really kind of cool.
Excellent. Well, so this is, sorry, a little bit of a surprise question, but I know you like surprises. So
I do.
If you then use your strategic foresight skills that you've been developing in your job and at the MBA, how do you see women in leadership evolving in business in the next 10 years? What should women online be ready for?
Oh gosh. I mean, you can look at so many different scenarios, and I'm a forever optimist. So I want to go with that scenario where the world is better. I think women need to be ready 10 years from now. They will still be fighting this fight. It's not something that's going to go away in 10 years. I think we will have gained a lot of ground. I think that now companies that are not seeing the value of it will start to fail. And it'll show up in their clients making those requests from them. It's just going to be something that's starting to get woven into the fabric of what companies are and what they stand for. I think that's going to happen. I also think there's going to be a lot more support for women in a way that was never there before, right? This hybrid working, the remote working already that has changed the way we work. It's really, I think, empowered women to say, no, I'm not going to go back 5 days a week. I have a family and I can still excuse my language, I can still get shit done. I don't have to be in the office. I'm still effective and finding that balance that works for them. So I think that these sorts of supports are going to start becoming more the norm.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's really inspiring. Let's think about the MBA experience. So you were at EDEC last year and graduated in June of 2022. It makes it. What about the program experience? Like when you're in the life of the MBA, how is it different from your work life? And how would you suggest that some of the women online today really leverage their MBA experience? Because it's truly a catalyst, and you've talked about how it's helped you make changes. What would you say are the ways that women can really leverage that MBA experience? Because it's short. At EDEC, it's anywhere between 10 and 12 months to do the MBA, and it's super intensive because of the short duration. But that also makes it somewhat of a catalyst or a crucible for you to rise to greater heights after the experience. So what did you do during the MBA to make it worth it for you?
You're absolutely right. It's just one of those things, you blink and it's gone. It happens so fast, and it's just such a roller coaster. I was actually listening a little bit before, and somebody had mentioned, the best part of the MBA was what I learned about myself. And I think that that's so true. I think going in with that open mind to really change and come in with an idea of who you are, obviously, and what you want, but be open to the fact that you're going to see so many different things. And don't be afraid to put your hand up, to volunteer, to do things, to lead a club or something. I mean, I went in, I was an overachiever. Like, let's not pretend, let's call a spade a spade. I decided I was going to run the social diversity club. I was going to run a TEDx. I was going to be on the board. I did all of the things.
You did.
I did. I was like all of it. But also that was because I was in a safe space. And I think that's the key here, especially at EDEC, working with you and the way that things are structured there. It's really an empowering space for women, and it's safe. And so you get to work in these small groups and test out different things that you're learning, different leadership styles, different skills, different things. And it's kind of okay to fail because it's a small scale. And so taking advantage of that opportunity, it's to me, that was priceless to do that. And I think, you and I had spoken a little bit about this the other day, the idea of like, take advantage of the opportunities that are there as well in terms of in the classroom with your professors, that kind of thing. I didn't do that. And that's one thing I actually regret, is that I really didn't take the time to reach out. I didn't raise my hand. I should have done that. I should have been confident that I have something to say about this. And you know what? The 2 times that I actually did reach out to Professor, I now work for one of them. So, there's something to be said about making those relationships and standing out.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point, and I should send that back to you, because while you didn't participate, you didn't raise your hand often. When you rose your hand, clearly professors and classmates and staff alike were always impressed with your contribution, and so that's a message I'd like to leave with the women on the call. Is don't ever be afraid to contribute, because actually the quality is far more important than the quantity. And I think that that's one great way to leverage your MBA is to really be engaged, be in class, raise your hand, and then reach out to professors as well. And it goes by so quickly, doesn't it?
Too fast. Can we go back to last year, please?
I'll have you back anytime. So maybe we can look a little bit too, because I mean, while next year we'll have a 50-50 balance between men and women, but maybe you can give us your input on how can male MBAs contribute to the empowerment of women? So, become male allies. And how would you suggest we can use that MBA experience to collaborate better with men?
Mm-hmm. This is such an interesting and important question. And I think, in all of the work that marginalized communities, vulnerable communities are doing, there's this idea, it's the truth, is that you have to work with the people that are at the top, that do have the power, right? And to be fair, the men are the ones that are still holding the majority of the power. I think it's 32% or something of senior management roles are held by women. That's still way too low. They hold a lot of power. So, men as allies can take the time to educate themselves. They can, just listen, just shut up and listen to us and allow us that space and understand that we're coming from a different upbringing and we're told different things. And so for us to take up that space, we need them to step back and let us as well. So, they don't necessarily have to go so far as calling out microaggressions or making big, broad systemic changes, and I think that that's where we come in, is that we have to understand that, we have to be patient, which is hard sometimes, I'm not going to lie. But also we have to meet people where they are. And some people will be up here and ready to do, fight the fight with you on the front lines. And some people just still need to learn the basics, right? And so it's about figuring out where people are, meeting them there and holding their hand and taking them through the journey. And I think that that's something that's undervalued and really important, because they're not going to go from here to here. It's small steps at a time. So I think that's something that we can do to help them get there, because I think innately they want to get there too.
I think so too, and I think as an MBA program director, I like to imagine that in my program I'm preparing people for a much more equal and inclusive future. And so to do that, use the MBA as a place where men and women and all types of diverse groups can learn to work together in a safe space, as you said, and a space where there's no hierarchy, there's no power imbalances, etc. So everyone is at an even playing field in an MBA, and that I think gives both men and women and all different diverse groups an opportunity to leverage that, to really get practice stepping up, or practice calling out, or practice helping others understand what kind of space or safety that we need to express our best selves. Yeah. So I think this is really an important point, and thanks for sharing that. I'm looking at our time, so I'm getting a little bit worried that we won't have time for questions, but I will take maybe one more question if I'm allowed. Is that all right? Can I ask one more question? All right. And I guess, yeah, then I wanted to ask, will your advice for women who, who want to step up to do an MBA? It's a big decision, and actually a lot of women shy away from it. So what would be your advice for women about stepping up to leadership, stepping up to an MBA? And then finally, I'll let you have the final word, Will, after that.
Yeah, I mean, the best advice I would say is like, just do it. Because whether or not you do it for a career move, whether it just takes you back to your old position, or it changes your career entirely, or it keeps you in the same sector, I think an MBA, more than any other degree, teaches you about you. And I think being self-aware is so important, and knowing your strengths and your values and how you can be supported by the people around you and how to really get the best out of people. And the MBA really does that. And so I would say just do it, but with the caveat of go in knowing what it is that you want to get out of it, and with an open mind that might change throughout your journey. Right. So I know it's like a little bit of a flighty response. But then on the other hand, in a more concrete way, I would say an MBA does give you one thing in leadership that is also super important. You can't get it's hard to get anywhere else: presentation skills and communication skills. If you want to be a good leader, you cannot discount the power of being a strong communicator.
And
you
across cultures on top of it. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, you're talking to people all over the world. You need to know how to communicate in a way that they'll understand, and to be heard and understood is, it's key. And so you're literally giving a presentation at least minimum once a week in this, right? You really get a chance to learn different styles and see different ways, and honing your communication skills. And that's such a huge asset as we move forward as leaders.
Yeah, so don't be afraid of that. Step up to it. Use it as a learning lever, right, to really shine. And maybe that word "shine" reminds me of what you said yesterday. I'd love to invite you to end with that, Will, if you don't mind.
Sure. So, as a final word to like women in general and women leaders is like, don't ever dull your shine. It's so easy to fade into the background. It is. And we do it all the time. I still do it, but it's really hard to stand out. And it takes courage. And we are all amazing. We all bring something incredible and different and useful to the table. And so don't ever let somebody dull your shine. Let someone else do that to you, and don't do it to yourself. Don't ever do it to yourself. Just let yourself shine bright like a diamond, as Rihanna would say.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Will, for all your insight and inspiration for the women on the call. And I hope it's been an interesting talk for everyone. And we're absolutely open for your questions. So we'll leave it to you. I think we should be right on time.
Thank you very much, ladies. It's been an absolute pleasure to hear you talk, Sandra, Stephanie, about your experience. Absolutely valuable insight that you've shared with us. I'm sure that it has been inspiring for many ladies in the audience, and some of them are related to what you just presented. I do have one question following up on something that we more or less scratched during your conversation about the diversity, the different fits. What do you, Sandra or Stephanie, you decide, I'll let you decide who takes this question, but to what extent should women consider culture fit when choosing the right business school and program? Maybe Stephanie, you can let us know from your experience.
Sure. I can tell you why I thought EDIC was the right fit for me. I wanted a place that valued women and didn't just say that they put their money where their mouth was. And EDIC literally does. They offer a scholarship to every single, I mean, they did for my year. Sandra, please correct me if I'm wrong, but they offered a scholarship to every single woman that was enrolled within the program. And that in and of itself showed me the value and that they place on us. I do think there is a fit aspect to it, and it comes with the whole being self-aware and having 12 years of work experience and being of a certain age that we're not going to talk about right now, you get to know yourself, and I knew what I wanted. And I think when you are choosing, take the time, figure yourself out, figure what it is that you really value, because that will make an impact on your MBA experience, in my opinion.
I think that's lovely advice. Thank you very much for spending the time with me, ladies. It was very inspiring to hear what you have to say. I'm sure that the ladies in the audience loved it as well. Once again, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you soon.
Absolutely our pleasure. See you soon.
Bye.
For those of you ladies who are joining us now, this is the 2023 Women and MBA Global Online Event with top business schools in Europe and North America and keynotes by female leadership experts. Last but not least, I would like to introduce you to the closing panel discussion for this webinar set by Anna Trebol, Global Recruitment Manager at IE Business School. The topic of the panel discussion is going to be the future of women in business with an MBA. Anna will be joined by Tati Sadawa. She is CEO of Todas Group, a digital platform that connects and accelerates the careers of new female leaders in companies. She worked at Johnson & Johnson and Coca-Cola for 15 years, international MBA at IE Business School in Madrid, executive program. Ladies, if you're with us, can you hear us?
Yes. Hi.
Perfect. Hello, Anna. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. As Christina already mentioned, I'm Ana Trevoy, and I'm the Global Recruitment Manager at IE Business School. And I am joined by an international MBA alumni. She's Tadita Sadala, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her experience at IE and how she was encouraged to develop what will become the biggest ecosystem for women globally. We're really excited to be part of this event today, so thank you very much for your invitation, because we believe that gender balance benefits everybody, and we aim to attract, to support, and also to inspire the next generation of female talent. Now, I'd like to share a presentation with you guys. Here we go. Okay, brilliant. So I wanted to tell you a little bit more about IE before jumping right into our topic. So IE Business School is consistently ranked amongst the world's top academic institutions in global rankings. As you can see, this is assessed by the quality of our teaching, our faculty, and our students, and we are committed to promoting innovation and nourishing talent in order to shape tomorrow's leading professionals, providing our students with a truly global vision that prepares them for the challenges of the future. And gender equality is a part of a wider focus on diversity and inclusion, and we are making huge efforts on this front to encourage more women to invest in themselves and their future as well. So a program that we have is called The Next Best You, and this is because our master programs are transformational programs, and they aim to push you from where you are today into the next best you. And this is where we go the extra mile, and we focus on your career, your impact, and your purpose. Now, in terms of your career, we're going to be working with you from the beginning of the program to help you discover the right career path for you. And this is based on your strengths, your gaps. And the idea is that we work hand in hand, or side by side with you to help you follow your career aspirations. And just to take you a little bit more in depth into what our MBAs are typically like, or what master programs are like, before really jumping into what we consider is extremely important, which is networking. I want to show you the different career pathways that we offer. We developed 8 career pathways that we believe will spearhead your career based on the real skills that are demanded in the market. These are the hottest areas where a business professional could develop, and these include branding, marketing, and sales. We have strategy, organization, and transformation, followed by finance, investment accounting, digital business analytics and operations, entrepreneurship. This is a huge part of IE's DNA, product management and service design, sustainability, and international business and economics. Now, the second element that we really like to highlight is, hold on, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, Anna.
Oh, sorry about that. The second element that we'd like to highlight in becoming the next best you is your impact. And this is where we talk about what effect you're going to have as a business professional with others around you. And here we go. And this is where we talk about the future skills. This is where we focus on your thinking skills, how open you are to learning, to being critical, creative, practical in solving problems and running projects, which we believe is a huge part of the business community. And we help you develop these behavioral skills. We aim to sharpen your interpersonal and intrapersonal skills in order to overcome difficulties and align stakeholders. Finally, you'll see that we have a huge focus on technology and your digital skills in order to develop data fluency for evidence-based businesses. And for the last and third pillar of the next best you, we focus on your purpose. Whilst full-time MBA students see that their earnings increase on average, at IE, we make sure that we focus on providing you with that extra dimensional purpose, that added sense of meaning to your day-to-day. So you'll see that we have, we provide sustainability courses. There's social impact initiatives that we offer as extracurriculars. And we've included working well with others. And this is something that Stephanie was mentioning earlier on, because once you start your MBA at IE, you're going to be working in groups of 5 to 7 people with different backgrounds and nationalities. And it will be challenging, but it's going to help you tap into a global network. Now, our international MBA alumni usually end up working in technology, consulting, or consumer goods. And what you can expect from us is that we're going to be providing you with top entrepreneurial and leadership skills, along with top industry connections. And connections to us is something that's extremely important because it's a huge part of the IE initiatives that support women. So what drives our initiatives is the vision that we have for an equal society where women and men have the same opportunities to achieve success. So we aim to enhance equality in business by empowering women through providing the tools and skills needed to face pressing gender issues in business. One of the initiatives that we have is the IE Women in Business Club. This is huge, and the mission is really to create a community for women in business by providing professional networking and leadership development opportunities. So we aim to create equal opportunity in business leadership and to empower women to achieve their professional aspirations. The IE Women in Business Club hosts an annual flagship event, the Women in Leadership Conference. You're all invited to this. And we usually have, several panels of top leading professionals coming. Another huge initiative that we have is a Women for Women initiative. And this is where we connect IE alumni with new IE students. And our aim here is to empower women in their professional careers and connect them with the right role models and mentors who can help them get the right advice in order to get to where they want to be at every step of the way. So we want to make sure that we keep our students connected to opportunities that will help them develop in their personal and professional lives in order to build a community of future leaders. And you'll see that the senior manager at Cisco mentioned at one of our events, I have always had a mentor, and it is absolutely fundamental. So we really do believe in that mentoring program. One thing that's really interesting and that I'd like to invite you guys to check out is the IE Women's Empowerment Challenge. Applications are going to open up in October. And this is basically one challenge that lasts 3 weeks, and 2 final winners will get a full tuition and a scholarship, whilst 8 finalists will win 25% tuition fee direct award. It's really interesting, but the purpose of this challenge is to attract the best women talent in IE University. And again, this is a global initiative for all master programs and for all the schools and regions that are, all of the regions and schools are included. In October, we're going to open this up. So I definitely encourage you to check it out. But at the same time, throughout the year, we offer over 20 different scholarships and Many of these are specifically for women in order to promote gender balance. But now, and without further ado, I would like to introduce to you Tati Sadala. She's one of our international MBA alumni. As Christina was mentioning, she's worked at Johnson & Johnson and Coca-Cola for over 15 years. And she's currently the founder and also the CEO of Todas Group, which is very exciting because it's a digital platform that connects and accelerates the careers of new female leaders in companies. She is a brilliant example of a woman with an entrepreneurial mindset that is dedicated to the advancement of women through education and also through leadership development. And she's going to tell us a little bit more about Todas Group, also her experience at IE, and in her biggest takeaways from doing her MBA at IE University in Madrid.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Anna. Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here with you, sharing my experience at IMBA that for me was a life-changing experience. So when I decided to take the MBA, I had been working for Coca-Cola in Brazil for 4 years. I was having like a promising career, being recognized, but I believed at that time, and I still believe actually, that taking an international MBA in a top business school makes all the difference in one's careers. Really take me, who take you to another level in terms of career. So I decided to take it, and I chose IE Business School mainly because of 3 reasons. I wanted to learn a third language, which is Spanish. I wanted to learn this entrepreneurial mindset in an entrepreneurial environment with diverse people. And I always wanted to live in Madrid. So I decided to take it, and actually things happened faster than I imagined. Uh, 4 months before the ending of the MBA program, I got a job at Johnson & Johnson. Johnson & Johnson has a very strong partnership for global leadership development jobs with IE Business School. I worked there for 7 years. I got promoted 4 times in 7 years, 2 times pregnant, which I'm very proud of. And that time I realized, I'm going to share something with you. I realized that actually companies are desperate for having good female talents in leadership positions. And I saw there a business opportunity. So I decided to quit Johnson & Johnson. It was one of the toughest decisions in my whole life because I love the company, but I wanted to pursue a bigger dream, which was having my own company, which is called Todas Group. So Todas Group, and I decided it because the more I grew professionally, the more alone I was. So Johnson & Johnson, so Todas Group is a platform that helps companies to boost women's careers. We work with strong companies such as Santander, L'Oreal, Johnson & Johnson, among others. Currently, we have 30,000 members, and our vision is to change the face of leadership globally, starting from here, Latin America. And my key takeaways of this whole experience were, I learned to think bigger in terms of business opportunity, but also in terms of my own career. I learned the tools, how to make business with impact no matter where. And the third one is the most important for me, is that it's all about people. So the people I met at IE make all the difference, and I still in my life nowadays. I'm gonna share a story with you. Anne and I, we joined this soccer team at IE. I had never played soccer before, but I was there, and we went in a competition in France. Our team lost the competition. We actually won the 2nd place, and IE people celebrated as we had won. Was the biggest celebration in the competition. This is IE spirit. So what I would recommend you if you are looking for an MBA experience is find that university, that business school that have your spirit. So overall, I had the best year of my life. If you decide to go, I'm pretty sure you're gonna have as well. I'm here. If you have any doubts here or afterwards in Zoom, I'll be happy to answer all the questions. To finish, I hope we together change the statistic of women in MBAs and women in leadership all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Tati. I just remembered the competition that we went to, and you are right. It was a lot of fun. I guess the IE spirit is something that always shows up. So thank you for reminding us about that. I also wanted to share with everybody an event that we're hosting very soon, in case you'd like to join, which is an I Am Remarkable event. I've included it in the chat if you guys would like to join, because it's a great opportunity for you to, it's part of one of our seminars. We do lots of events and seminars online. Feel free to join any that you'd like. But basically, it's a great opportunity for you to be able to understand what makes you remarkable and to be able to speak out, which is extremely important as a woman and also as a man. But you'll find it to be very, very interesting. And I don't know if there are any questions that anybody has regarding IE, regarding MBAs, or regarding anything that we've mentioned throughout the session.
Is there anyone from Latin America? I'll be happy. No.
Seems like no.
Yeah. Who's gonna be the courage women to take the first question? South Africa, nice, Ama.
All right. Well, I guess we should wait for another minute just in case anybody decides to speak their minds.
I think the ladies are being shy with us. Ladies, don't be shy. Share where you're from. How did you find out about the event if you want? Okay, online. We have here Zama. She says, in terms of online opportunities for students in Africa, what advice can you give for remote work?
Sorry, could you repeat that again?
In terms of online opportunities for students in Africa or in students in general, what advice can you give for remote work? Do you think remote working is functional? How do you think female leadership can be built within that environment? Do you have any thoughts on the process?
Sure. So I'll tell you my suggestion or experience, and then Tati, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well. Basically, I think that I can see the comments right now. I wasn't able to see them. All right, brilliant. So in terms of remote work, I honestly think that, sorry, what advice can you give me for remote work? As a speech therapist, I mean, in terms of remote work, I think it's ever since the pandemic, it's really changed the way that we think about life, about having work-life balance as well. And I think remote work has given us the opportunity to basically have a little bit more flexibility and also to be able to find new opportunities in the workspace. Um, I think that that's as much as I can say right now.
Yes, I completely agree with you, Anna, and I would add some. First, what I see is that companies are going back to the model before pandemic or doing a hybrid, like a combined physical and online work. 100% remote work, it's hard to see, like at least here in Latin America. So the first thing I would suggest to is like challenge the status quo. So I have my own story. When I was at Johnson and Johnson, I lived in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, and they did not have the position I wanted to be promoted. And then I just challenge, and we agreed that we are gonna do like a test, and it worked very well. And from now on, the company in Brazil changed even the like politics, so for remote work. So I would say like challenge the status quo because it's possible. And second, here in Todas Group, we are digital natives. We are resisting to go physically. We have all the employees around Latin America, even one in Europe, and we are building a case of remote work. So I think it's very related to the first point of telling the status quo. So this would be my two reflections, like thoughts in your building your point. And I think we are the new generation of real leaders that are gonna build a new way of leading, a new way of working, a new way of doing business, showing that it's possible to do things in a different way and have even better financial results. So I think this is our challenge in our hands. And this is
And
something that I taught me a lot. I learned at IE, like to really challenge the status quo, this entrepreneurship mindset. It doesn't matter if you are a speech therapist or a manager in a company or a startup employee or the owner of your own business. Like this changing mindset, how you build things the way you believe is crucial. It's what I believe, it's what I learned at IE Business School.
And also, one thing, for example, that happened to us was once the pandemic hit, we had to go into online classes and we had to change everything completely. And by 2021, our global online MBA was ranked number one in the Financial Times, for example, because everything changes. You have to be super flexible and to adapt to changes, and also be really on the trend of current technology. And in that sense, I think that remote work has also kind of pushed us all into being more technological, into being more on the latest trends, and making sure that we're there as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you very much, ladies, for your insight. I personally think this was a wonderful way to close our second set. Once again, thank you for joining us. I see that the ladies are thanking you as well. We have Amri saying thank you. We have Zama. So you have definitely touched some of our participants today. Thank you once again for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Absolutely, ladies. It's time to move on to the next part of this interactive event. I would like to invite you to join now the second webinar, where you can gain insight on to how other business schools empower women and become leaders. Thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Christina. It was a pleasure to be your moderator.